Welcome back to Way of the Wrench, and on today's video I am extremely excited to introduce a new project series for you guys. I got 3 words for you: virtual pinball cabinet. Oh my god, I'm excited. Let's get going. Now, I don't know about you, but I am definitely a child of the 80s, and I spent a lot of time in the arcades playing things like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat 2 and Wardener and all those great titles. In fact, I loved it so much that last year I built my very own custom Raspberry Pi arcade cabinet, and I filmed it all so I could show you guys how to make your own. If you're interested, I'll put a link to the playlist above. Now, it was such a huge success for the channel, and I really enjoyed making it, so I've decided to do yet another project video and put it up for you guys so that you can build your very own custom virtual pinball cabinet. Now, your first question probably is, what is a virtual pinball cabinet? Now, a virtual pinball cabinet is exactly what it sounds like. It's all virtual. There's no real ball rolling down the playfield. There's no real pop bumpers bouncing the ball back and forth. There's no metal ramps, any of that stuff. It's all displayed on a monitor virtually. Now, I'm going to have a whole bunch of pinball purists basically saying, oh my god, what are you doing? This is a horrible idea. There's nothing better than real pinball. And I would have to agree. I would love to have a real pinball cabinet in my garage. However, I can't afford $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 cabinet, and if I want to have a couple of these things, I just don't have the room. So that's where virtual pinball cabinet comes into play. Now, the trick to these virtual pinball cabinets, and honestly why I think it's such a cool project to build, is that as you're making these cabinets, you can add all these features to make it feel like you're playing the real thing. You know, things like having a display or a monitor that is such a high resolution that it actually looks like a real ball being bounced around on the playfield. And then have a program that does all the physics for you so that when the ball is coming down through gravity or being hit by a flipper, that it looks realistic, you know. Then you can add things like using an Xbox 360 Kinect camera and a program called BAM. It actually is some eye tracking software so that as you are moving your head while you're playing the game, it literally adjusts items on the playfield so that it feels more realistic. You know, like you can look underneath a ramp and see what's there. That's pretty cool. And then to top it all off, when you hit the flipper on the side of your cabinet, not only do you see the ball getting hit and you can hear the ball on the audio, but you can also add a motor inside that shakes the cabinet, does a little vibration so that when you hit that button, it feels like you are actually solidly connecting with a big pinball. Pretty cool. So one of the main criteria for this project is budget. Really, any project in life, if you've got a ton of money and you throw it at it, it becomes very easy, right? But that money is going to paying someone else to do this for you. So you can save that money by doing the work yourself. Now, if you really didn't want to do this project, you could spend 5, 6, 7 grand and just buy a pre-built, everything done for you and plopped in your garage. That's one option. The other option is you can get these do-it-yourself kits where literally everything is all cut out. You just have to kind of mount everything. I know those are considerably cheaper, but there's still a lot more work to be done on them. And then the route I'm going is I am going to try to do this as cheap as possible, which sounds horrible, but really a lot of it is because I'm going to be able to do a lot of it myself, save a ton of money, and then put that stuff into the components so that I have a really cool project. Now, one of the factors that's going to affect your budget for building a virtual pinball cabinet really boils down to what is the resolution you want to display. Now, if you want top of the line, that's going to be 4K, and so all of a sudden you need to come up with a 40 to 43 inch gaming monitor that's got 4K. It's got low latency with button presses, so something like 5 milliseconds or less. And you also want to have something with a high refresh rate, so something like 120 hertz. And top it all off, you also need a viewing angle that when you take that monitor and you tilt it 90 degrees roughly, that you can still see really well. And for something like that, you're already looking at $1,000 or $2,000. And then you have to have a really good gaming computer to be able to drive that monitor. And to top it all off, you also need a really, really good video card. And if you haven't been looking at the pricing of video cards lately, take a look. It's pretty mind-blowing. Now, that is one way of doing it. I'm not doing that. I'm going to do a 1080p resolution, and that opens up a whole bunch of other options, including cheap, if not free, monitors, and 10, 15-year-old gaming computers, and video cards that are equally as old that will still do the job, just only to a 1080p resolution, but save a lot of money. Now, keep in mind, when I build this entire cabinet around that, I can always upgrade to a 4K gaming monitor and upgrade to a really nice new gaming computer and video card later, so it's not really that big of a deal. Now, as for the actual size of this virtual pinball cabinet, there's a whole bunch of options, starting right at the very little mini guys. You can make these little desktop ones that don't have legs. They use smaller monitors, so really small for space and cost effective too. I think I'd like to make one of those in the future, so stay tuned for that. And then you got these kind of like half builds and 3/4 size builds, which are same thing. If you don't have the space, but you want something that looks realistic, you can do that route. And then you got the real deal. You got the full standard size cabinets and then even wide body cabinets. Now, for me and for this build, I think bigger's better. I only plan on making one of these for myself, so I am going to go with a more traditional Williams wide body style. That way, if I need any parts from that cabinet, then I can be able to get those. And keep in mind, I will have to adjust some dimensions on those things just to suit my monitors that I get. Now, another criteria for this virtual pinball cabinet is how many monitors do you want to actually have in this thing? So lots of options here. You could have a 1, 2, 3, or 4, or even more. Just depends on how elaborate you want this thing to be. Now, a 1 display cabinet is going to have just the playfield, and that's it. So you're going to have to put the score or the DMD kind of somewhere on the playfield, which doesn't really work and look original. So that's probably not what I'm going to do. Now, the second option is doing a 2 display cabinet where you've got your playfield monitor and then you have a second back glass monitor on the back. Now on the back glass you're going to put your DMD right on the same screen, and then usually the software has 2 fake looking speakers that are not real, but they kind of look like they would on the original cabinet, so that's kind of cool. Now the third option is a 3 display monitor where you've got your playfield, your back glass, and then a third one is for just for your DMD. Now I think I'm going to go that route because it looks a little bit more original, and on the sides of your DMD third monitor you can actually put real speakers and blast the sound out towards you that way. Now if you want to get super fancy, you can actually add 4 or 5 monitors, and usually those are just for extras. It's things like toppers where you can have a real clip from the video playing while you're actually doing the pinball. Now if I'm going with a 3 monitor setup, that's a lot of monitors, a lot of wires and cables, and I still need to be able to access everything inside. So I'm going to have to do some kind of unique designs to be able to make sure that I can tilt that playfield up and maybe even remove it. That way I can access and complete the build, and as well as future upgrades so I can get in there and do what I need to. Now as for the overall look or theme of this virtual pinball cabinet, I haven't narrowed it down yet, and honestly it's a really hard thing to do because there are so many cool cabinets out there and they all look super cool. Indiana Jones, Circus Voltaire, Theater of Magic, they're all cool on their very own. So I had the same problem with my custom Raspberry Pi arcade cabinet with thousands of titles. How do you decide what this one cabinet looks like? So I may end up going that route where I just keep it simple, keep it black, chrome trim, and then let the original game artwork do the magic for you and make it look like its very own cabinet. So I'm kind of leaning towards that, but keep in mind I can always change my mind and add vinyl artwork on after. There you go, there's the plan for our custom virtual pinball cabinet. I'm really excited to get going on this project and show you guys in an educational and yet entertaining way so that you can at home make your very own custom virtual pinball cabinet as well. At this time I'd like to thank all my subscribers. I think in the next couple of weeks we're going to be getting up to 3,000 subscribers, which is amazing. All I'm doing is making cool videos and getting you guys to learn some stuff so you can work with your hands and get excited about tech. So win-win. If you haven't followed us yet, you can follow us on Way of the Wrench. That way you can follow behind the scenes. And until next time, take it easy.